Show me love, show me love. This is all we got. Show me love.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Robyn here, and I am so excited because now you guys are so close to the finish line with your 2 panels. Obviously, in this step of the lesson, you're going to finish your 2nd panel. But now you have the added step of I need you to block your panels. So when we were talking about gauge, we were like, we're just going to stretch it out a little bit. Well, now's the time. Now's the time where we're actually going to talk about blocking. And I want to show you what I did for blocking the panels. And there's other methods you can do. We're going to do steam blocking today. Now you can do wet blocking. You could do the pin and spray it with a spray bottle. But if you're using the yarn that we're recommending, the Roll With It Melange or Ferris wheel, we found that the other 2 methods where they work, the wet blocking and the pin and spray, they work, but they don't set it as well as the steam blocking. I find that the steam blocking not only gives you a really lovely fabric, you just get this really nice drape and everything, it also sets it. So you don't, every time, like, you don't have to be constantly, like, it's not going to spring back on you or you got to block it again, which can happen. It definitely can happen. But with the steam blocking, especially with our acrylic yarn, it will set it in place and then it'll kind of stay that way. There's definitely some, downsides to a steam blocker. You need to either own a steamer or a steam iron. So you need to own those 2 things. But otherwise, all the other things that you need, you probably have to do blocking supplies. And you'll notice that I wrote that blocking is required. The reason why is that our stitch pattern opens up really nicely. All of those X stitches, they open up. I mean, you can stretch them as big as you want. I didn't on mine. I just wanted to open it up a little bit so we could see them. And if you don't do that, the row gauge is so much shorter, which means that you have a shorter cardigan, you have a shorter everything. Would it be okay? Probably, because this is an oversized cardigan. But, cardigans, we want them to move with us. And I find no matter what you're doing with blocking, the blocking is going to make them drape better. Steam blocking will definitely make them drape better. And there's nothing worse than somebody like looking at you and going, oh, that's handmade. Versus being like, wowed, whoa, you made that. And blocking is the number one thing I know to make that difference. To make the difference of being like, I took the extra time. And it does take time. I know it takes time. Nobody likes doing it. I don't like doing it. It's like weaving in ends. We just have to do it. But it makes a huge difference. So with that, let me walk you through some of the things that you need. And I don't know if I have any great grand tips, but we'll see as we go. So let's move down to the table. Obviously, the first couple things that you need is you need what you're blocking. So I have a blocked swatch and then the swatch that we were working on before. I like blocking boards. They are click together foam boards. You can get them on Amazon. You can get them at your local craft store. You can get them at your local yarn store. You can get them anywhere you want. I just like that they already have the grid on there and they've done some of the thinking for me. Like, if you don't have this, there's nothing wrong with just laying a towel down on your ironing board or a towel down on your carpet or a towel down on your spare bed and pinning to that, getting out your tape measure and pinning to that. That'll be fine. So obviously if you don't have a blocking board, make sure you have a tape measure nearby. I mean, I am just extra, so I like to usually measure my stuff too. You will want some rust proof pins. I like to use these T-pins perfect personally. You want to make sure they're rust proof because they're going to be touching water and you don't want that happening. Okay, this is not required, but these are my favorite. I call them blocking combs because they look like, you know, a lady's comb. It's basically like having, in this case, 4, or in this case, like 8 rust-proof pins all in one. So you can pull it out and block a whole section all at once. These are called knit blockers. Again, you can get these on Amazon or your yarn store or anywhere, frankly. I love them. I love them. I own so many sets of them. They come in both little and big sizes. So I always have these nearby because you can very quickly make a very straight edge, which I find to be fabulous. Then, like I said, you're going to want a steamer. You don't have to have, I'm using my nice big beautiful steamer. You don't need to have a dedicated steamer. You could absolutely just have your iron and do the same thing. So you're going to, if you're using your iron instead of your steamer, you need something that makes steam. When it comes to using your iron, the main thing is all irons will have a setting for where it starts the steam. Use the lowest setting. You don't need to crank it up to the highest setting. It can be the lowest setting. You just need the steam. That's all you're looking for. So on my iron, I just have to press a button to keep making the steam. On a steamer, I don't have to do that. I have a trigger here. Again, there's a lot of different steamers. I'm not saying that you have to go buy one, but they're very lovely. Last thing you need your schematic. And this is the whole reason I made the panel schematic. So you can quickly look what your length and what your height is for your panel so that you can have it right here. It's the same as on your regular schematic. It's just obviously the length is twice this. Okay, how do you do it? First, you got to pin it out. So you take your measurements from your schematic and you're going to pin it out. What I like to do if I'm using the blockers, I will pin it out to the dimensions. I'll pin out the corners. So this, for this swatch, it is 20 stitches across. So that should be, I need to block it at least 5.5 so that those 18 stitches that I measure in the middle will be my 5 inches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I need to, I'll block it out to at least 5.5. One of those things when you are, you know, blocking your swatch for the first time and you're not really sure is I'll block it out to what I'm hoping it to be and then like look at it and say, did that look right or did that not look right? You know, is it stretching it out the way I want? And in this case, yes, it stretches it out. Because, yeah, you could stretch it way out. And that's your prerogative. If you like it super stretched out, go for it. I don't like it that much stretched out. As I was saying before, I just want to see these X's. So you can see on the finished blocked one, I just wanted to see the X's. I just wanted to be able to have them open up. I didn't want them to be all smushed. I wanted them to be open. So that's all it is. You can also see that this fabric is wonderful. Just super, super drapey. And we're going to make this guy do the same thing. Because, let me unpin it. Right now, not drapey. Like I could curl it up and it would stay curled. Versus blocking, you know, you curl it up and it just wants to flow back because it's just so lovely. Where this guy, I mean, like, you're like, lay down. So he needs to take a nice little bath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm all the way up here. Okay, so pin out the 4 corners to the schematic size. In my case, it's 5.5 by 7. Obviously, yours will be much, much bigger. Then my favorite thing to do is, as I said, I love these combs. So then what I'll go with the combs is just starting on one side. I'm going to straighten out my work. And using the comb, I'm going to make a nice, clean, straight edge. Then I'll do it on the other side. I don't go like all the way around. I'll do one edge and then I'll do the opposite edge. So you can see I had to kind of scoot it out because we are blocking it out. You know, naturally it wants to suck in now. So I just scoot out my edge so that it's nice and straight. And I go ahead and lock it in with these great combs. Then do the same thing on the top. You can see it wants to curl down. So I'm saying, no, you got to stay up. And it comes to putting your, pins or putting your combs together. They don't have to be right on top of each other like I'm doing here. I'm just being a bit extra. They can be, you can space them out a little bit if you want to. Pinning it here and here would work fine too. I don't have to have them all, super next to each other. That's not super necessary. So if you're just using pins, you can put 1 pin every inch. That's usually plenty of pins. Then of course I did that top edge. I'm going to do the bottom edge and pin this out. So if you were spraying it, if you have a yarn that would react to just spraying it, you could just spray this with water, and that's pinning and spraying. The wet blocking is you immerse this in water, then pin it out the way I did and let it dry. But steam blocking is really nice because there's really not a lot of time of waiting for it to dry. So all you're going to do with steam blocking is you're going to keep, if I do it, put it up so you can kind of see. You don't want to do this. You don't want your steamer to be touching your fabric because it will melt. We're doing acrylic. This will 100% melt your yarn. You don't want that. So whether it's your iron or your steamer, you want to keep it around 1 inch from your fabric. So see how it's kind of hovering? It will never get closer than that. You definitely don't want it too close. It will melt your yarn. And so all you're going to do is you wave your wand and you get all that great steam. Trying not to get my camera also fogged. And you're just going to wave it back and forth over your project. And I will keep doing it until my fabric feels damp to the touch. Not wet, but definitely not dry, like something has happened. So I would say, like, I stand back and forth and I wave it back and forth for a good while. Each of these steamers comes with like a little reservoir of water. I will go through 2 reservoirs of water for 1 panel. Not this little guy. I mean the big panel. So I'm talking about you're standing here waving over your panel probably for 10 minutes. Like, it's not just like boop, boop, and you're done. It's not like you're vacuuming. You're not going fast. You're slowly going over it and then over it again. And that is how we're going to kind of lock in all of these fibers to be nice and lovely. You let it dry, and then you join me back here for the last step. Well, last 2 steps, let's be honest, but there's only one more step for the panels, and that's putting them together. And that's it. So blocking, it's not only is there like a preference, everybody has a preference of how they block, but fibers have a preference on what works best for them. This yarn really works the best when you steam it. You can certainly try the other ones, wet blocking or pinning and spraying. That is up to you. It's just telling you what we recommend. You guys do whatever works out best for you. So if you don't have an iron, you don't have a steamer, and you just want to pin it and spray it, or you want to wet block it, that's fine. That's fine. Do whatever you have around you. Just make sure that you're blocking. That's the only thing that I really don't want to hear, because it really makes such a huge difference. I know it takes time away from the actual crocheting, which we all love doing, but it is really worth it in the end. Okay, I'm going to let you go because you got some work to do today, and I will see you all later. Bye, everybody.